5:12 local time. The sea is flat, the horizon is clear, and inside the Combat Information Center of a U.S. Navy destroyer moving a few miles ahead of a carrier strike group, the radar picture suddenly shifts. Two new contacts appear, fast, high altitude, approaching from the north. The Spy 1D radar catches them immediately. At first, the returns are small, then stronger with every sweep. A tracking officer leans closer to the console. Two fast movers bearing 034. No transponder, no identification code, no civilian flight plan. Just two aircraft cutting quickly across open water. Range, 178 nautical miles. Inside the CIC, the lights are dim, the air is cool, and everything feels tightly controlled. No shouting, no alarms, but everyone knows the routine. The tracks are tagged, speed calculated, Mach 1.6. That alone rules out normal commercial traffic. The officer of the watch gives a calm order. Track and classify. Another radar sweep brings more detail. The aircraft are at roughly 40,000 feet, holding tight formation, moving straight toward the carrier strike group. No deviation, no radio calls, just speed and purpose. The destroyer sends the first radio call on International Guard frequencies. Unidentified aircraft approaching U.S. naval formation, this is a United States Navy warship. Identify yourself and state your intentions. The message disappears into empty sky. No reply. In the carrier's hangar bay behind them, deck crews continue routine work. A pair of FA-18E Super Hornets sit on alert, engines cold but ready. Sailors move across the flight deck, unaware that 170 miles away, something is closing in fast. Back inside the destroyer's CIC, radar operators continue the track. Range, 160 miles. The strike group commander receives the update immediately through the tactical data network, linking every ship and aircraft in formation. No panic follows, only one instruction passed through encrypted communications. Monitor. Do not escalate. Another sweep. The return sharpens. The radar cross-section looks larger than expected for standard fighters. The air search controller narrows his eyes. Possible twin-engine platform. That assessment triggers the next move. An E-2D Hawkeye airborne early warning aircraft is ordered into the air. On the carrier's flight deck, the large turboprop rolls into place. Its radar dome catches the first light of morning as the catapult throws it into the sky. Within minutes, the Hawkeye is climbing above the strike group, scanning hundreds of miles of airspace. It quickly locks onto the two contacts. Altitude confirmed, 40,000 feet. Speed unchanged. Course steady, still inbound. Inside the Hawkeye's mission station, electronic sensors begin studying the emissions coming from the unknown aircraft. Seconds later, a technician speaks. Radar signature detected. The waveform does not match civilian databases, but military analysts recognize it immediately. Flanker family radar. That means these are not civilian aircraft. They are fighters. Another scan confirms the profile. Large wingspan, twin engines, strong radar emissions. The Hawkeye passes the identification across the strike group network. Possible Su-35. Inside the destroyer's CIC, nobody reacts outwardly, but every sailor understands the significance. The Sukhoi Su-35 is not a patrol aircraft. It is a long-range air superiority fighter capable of carrying anti-ship weapons built specifically to threaten ships the size of an aircraft carrier. Range, 120 miles. The carrier strike group quietly adjusts formation. Two destroyers move slightly forward of the carrier's path. A cruiser tightens its defensive arc. Electronic warfare systems across the formation come online, scanning for targeting signals. Still no response from the approaching aircraft. No identification, no course change. At 100 miles, the Hawkeye detects something new. Infrared sensors pick up hardpoints under the wings of both fighters. External stores, possible missiles. The strike group command channel goes silent for several seconds while analysts verify the data. 4 pylons, large missile bodies. Anti-ship weapons are a strong possibility. And the two aircraft are still flying directly at the U.S. carrier. Inside the CIC, the tactical display now shows the situation in simple terms. 100,000 tons of American steel moving through open water, and 2 Iranian-operated Su-35 fighters, closing the distance fast, deliberate, and fully armed. 5:24 local time. The two aircraft are now 82 nautical miles from the carrier strike group. Speed remains steady at Mach 1.6. Their course is unchanged. Inside the E-2D Hawkeye orbiting high above the fleet, radar operators continue following every movement. The APY-9 radar sweeps across vast airspace, updating the tactical picture in real time. Two tracks dominate the screen: fast, intentional, closing. Then the aircraft begin to change altitude. The lead jet drops first, from 40,000 feet to 25,000. Seconds later, the second aircraft follows. Lower altitude reduces radar visibility and improves missile launch geometry. Inside the destroyer's Combat Information Center, the Air Defense Coordinator notices it immediately. Altitude change confirmed. Another operator studies the formation. They're splitting. The two aircraft separate slightly. One climbs back toward 30,000 feet, the other descends again, this time to 18,000. The maneuver creates a wide attack angle, a classic pincer approach. From the strike group's perspective, that means two possible launch vectors instead of one. At this distance, that matters. The Hawkeye updates the entire formation. Two Su-35s confirmed, possible anti-ship loadout. The message moves instantly through the Navy's Cooperative Engagement Capability Network. Every ship in the strike group now sees the same picture, two red symbols steadily moving closer. On the carrier's flight deck, the alert fighters are no longer waiting. Steam erupts from the catapult. Two FA-18E Super Hornets surge forward and vanish into the morning sky. Call signs, Raptor 1 and Raptor 2. Their task is simple: intercept. The two fighters accelerate immediately after launch, climbing hard toward the incoming threat. Back in the Hawkeye, electronic surveillance operators continue studying emissions from the Su-35s. Then the spectrum display shows a sharp spike. Radar energy, but not search radar. One of the Iranian fighters has switched modes. Inside the destroyer's CIC, the electronic warfare officer speaks evenly. Fire control radar active. That changes everything. Search radar scans a wide volume of sky. Fire control radar locks onto a specific target. And that usually means one thing: the aircraft is preparing a weapon. The Hawkeye confirms the signal and relays it across the strike group. Possible targeting radar detected. Distance to fleet, 60 miles. The carrier strike group does not open fire. Not yet. But the defensive network quietly shifts to full readiness. The Aegis combat system aboard two destroyers assigns tracking solutions to the incoming aircraft. Missile launch cells below deck transition from standby to armed. Surface-to-air interceptors are ready. Above the ocean, Raptor 1 and Raptor 2 continue closing. Their radars sweep ahead and quickly acquire the targets. Two large returns. Twin engines, exactly where the Hawkeye predicted. The intercept line is perfect. The distance between the American fighters and the Su-35s is dropping fast, 30 miles. But the Iranian aircraft keep pressing forward. No turnaway, no hesitation. Then another signal appears. Infrared sensors detect a brief flash beneath the wing of the lower Su-35. Just a flicker, but unmistakable. A weapon system powering on. The destroyer's CIC receives the data instantly. Missile guidance radar. That means the anti-ship weapon is no longer just hanging under the wing. It is now ready for use. Inside the strike group command center, nobody speaks for several seconds. Every eye stays fixed on the tactical display. Distance, 45 nautical miles. At that range, certain anti-ship missiles could reach the fleet in under a minute after launch. The American intercept fighters are still closing, but not yet in position to fire. The Su-35s hold their attack formation, one high, one low, two separate angles of approach. Electronic warfare systems aboard the destroyers begin transmitting jamming signals into the sky, probing the guidance systems of the incoming fighters. The signals ripple invisibly through the air. Still, the Su-35s keep coming. 38 miles now. Then the Hawkeye operator sees something on infrared, movement under the wing, a missile shifting slightly on its launch rail. Inside the destroyer's CIC, the Air Defense Coordinator speaks quietly. Stand by. Aegis assigns intercept calculations automatically. Surface-to-air missiles below deck are fully aligned with their firing solutions. The Super Hornets are only seconds away from weapons range. But the Iranian fighters have already reached theirs. 32 miles. Then, suddenly, a bright flash appears beneath the wing of the lead Su-35. 5:31 local time. The flash lasts less than a second, but every sensor in the carrier strike group catches it. Infrared satellites, AWACS sensors, shipboard radar. Inside the destroyer's Combat Information Center, the tactical display updates instantly. A new object appears. Small, fast, descending. Missile launch confirmed. The Air Defense Coordinator never raises his voice. Missile inbound. The weapon separates cleanly from the Su-35's wing and ignites its booster. A bright plume burns behind it as the missile surges away from the fighter. Within seconds, it begins dropping toward the ocean surface, sea-skimming flight path. Designed to stay low and blend into radar clutter just above the waves. Its speed rises quickly, Mach 3. At that pace, it covers roughly a mile every 2 seconds. Distance to the carrier strike group, 28 nautical miles. Estimated time to impact, less than 40 seconds. Inside the CIC, the light remains low, the mood steady. No sudden movement, but every operator shifts into the final stage of naval air defense procedure. Condition 1. The most serious alert level a naval vessel can reach. On the tactical display, the missile streaks toward the center of the formation, the carrier. The destroyer's Aegis combat system calculates an intercept solution automatically. Radar arrays maintain a continuous track while the system selects the best defensive option. Solution confirmed. A single command appears on the fire control console. Engage. Below deck, armored hatches slide open across the vertical launch system. One cell ignites. An SM-6 interceptor erupts upward in a column of fire and smoke. It clears the launch tube, rolls hard toward the horizon, and accelerates beyond Mach 3 within seconds. Above the ocean, 2 missiles now race toward one another, one built to strike ships, the other built to stop missiles. But the encounter is not over. High above the engagement zone, the second Su-35 makes its move. The aircraft banks slightly, adjusting heading just enough to create a new firing angle. Infrared sensors catch the moment. Another flash. Second missile launch. This one takes a slightly different path, descending quickly until it flies barely 15 feet above the ocean surface. Lower altitude means less radar exposure, more difficulty tracking it, and far less time to respond. Inside the CIC, 2 separate threat tracks now appear. Missile 1, Missile 2. 2 vectors converging on the strike group from different directions. The Air Defense Coordinator gives another order. Assign second intercept. A nearby cruiser receives the command automatically through the networked Aegis system. Another vertical launch cell ignites. An ESSM interceptor blasts skyward. Now 3 missiles tear through the morning air. 2 defensive interceptors, 1 incoming weapon. The first interception happens quickly. The SM-6 cuts across the sky, guided by continuous radar updates from the destroyer's phased array system. The computers refine the intercept path dozens of times each second. Distance collapses fast. 2 miles, 1 mile, half a mile. Then a bright flash blooms high above the water. The first anti-ship missile breaks apart in a violent mid-air burst as the interceptor detonates nearby. Fragments scatter across the sky and fall into the sea. Inside the CIC, the radar track disappears. First threat neutralized. But the second missile is still inbound, and it is flying far lower. At just 15 feet above the surface, the weapon hides inside the radar clutter created by waves and spray. For several seconds, it nearly vanishes from radar screens. Then, the destroyer's sensors pick it up again. Range, 7 miles. Time to impact, less than 12 seconds. At that distance, the engagement window for long-range interceptors is nearly gone. The next defensive layer activates automatically. On the deck of a nearby destroyer, the Phalanx close-in weapon system comes alive. The turret swings toward the horizon. Its radar locks onto the incoming target instantly. Tracking solution confirmed. The system is ready. The 6-barrel Gatling gun begins to spin, faster, faster, until it reaches full speed. 4,500 rounds per minute. Inside the CIC, the tactical display shows the incoming missile closing in on the carrier strike group. 6 miles, 5, 4. The CIWS radar holds a perfect lock. 3 miles, 2, and then it fires. A continuous stream of 20mm rounds burst from the rotating barrels, forming a dense wall of metal directly in the missile's path. For a brief instant, the horizon turns into a blur of tracer fire and smoke. The missile flies straight into it. The sky erupts. 5:32 local time. A flash spreads across the ocean just beyond the outer defensive ring of the strike group. The incoming missile vanishes in a violent burst as it collides with the stream of 20mm rounds from the Phalanx close-in weapon system. For a split second, everything turns white. Then fragments fall into the sea. Inside the Combat Information Center, the radar track collapses. The incoming threat disappears from the display. Second missile destroyed. The carrier strike group has made it through the attack, but the situation isn't over yet. High above the fleet, the 2 Iranian Su-35 fighters are still in the air. And now they have a new problem. The American interceptors have arrived. Raptor 1 and Raptor 2 surge toward the Iranian aircraft at over Mach 1.2, climbing through scattered clouds as they close the gap. Inside the cockpit of Raptor 1, the radar shows two large targets ahead. Range, 9 miles. The pilot locks onto the lead Su-35. Target confirmed. A steady tone fills the headset. Lock achieved. Across the sky, the Iranian fighter's warning system reacts instantly. The Su-35 pilot rolls hard to the right, pulling into a tight defensive turn, trying to break the lock. But the American fighters are already within range. Inside Raptor 1, the weapons officer confirms the solution. Fox 3. An AIM-12OAMRAAM launches from the Super Hornet's wing. Its rocket motor ignites immediately, driving it forward at extreme speed as it climbs toward the escaping fighter. The missile guides using its own radar in the final phase. The Iranian pilot releases countermeasures. Bright flares scatter behind the aircraft. Chaff spreads through the air, attempting to disrupt the missile's guidance. The Su-35 pulls into a sharp maneuver, climbing, rolling, changing direction aggressively. The missile closes fast. 2 miles, 1 mile. Then a sudden detonation. The AMRAAM explodes just behind the fighter. The aircraft isn't destroyed, but the shockwave forces the pilot to break away. At the same time, the second Super Hornet locks onto the other Su-35. The formation collapses. The higher aircraft dives sharply. The lower one accelerates north. Both fighters push their speed to Mach 1.8. They are no longer approaching. They are leaving. Inside the destroyer's CIC, the display confirms it. Both hostile tracks are turning away. Distance increasing. The American fighters continue pursuit for several minutes, maintaining radar lock to ensure no second attempt is made. But the decision has already been made. The Su-35 pilots disengage. Their aircraft accelerate further, heading north across open ocean. Gradually, their radar signatures shrink and then disappear beyond the reach of the Hawkeye. 5:38 local time. Threats cleared. Inside the CIC, the tension finally lifts. Operators confirm the final data. 2 missiles launched, 2 missiles destroyed. No damage to the carrier, no damage to the strike group. On the carrier's flight deck, sailors who saw the distant flashes returned to routine operations. Jets continue launching and landing. The massive ship never altered course. It simply keeps moving forward through open water. 100,000 tons of steel and nuclear power, protected by a system built for moments like this. Above the fleet, the Hawkeye continues circling, scanning the horizon, watching, listening. Because the strike group understands something important. Those 2 Iranian Su-35s didn't arrive by chance. They came prepared. They launched weapons. And even though the attack failed, they revealed something far more valuable. Data. Back inside the carrier's intelligence center, analysts are already replaying every second of the encounter. 6:10 local time. The ocean is calm again. From the flight deck, the horizon looks unchanged. Blue water, clear sky, and the steady wake of a massive warship. To an outside observer, nothing unusual happened. But inside, everything is different. Every sensor recording from the last 30 minutes is under review. Radar logs, electronic emissions, infrared signatures. Nothing is overlooked. Because the 2 Su-35 fighters left behind something critical. When their radar signals first appeared, the strike group's electronic warfare systems began recording everything. Every frequency, every pulse, every targeting signal, every shift as the pilots change modes. Inside the intelligence center, a technician scrolls through the data frame by frame. Search radar patterns, fire control signals, missile guidance frequencies. Each one is like a fingerprint. And now, they have them all. Across the network, ships in the group have already uploaded their recordings. Multiple sensors, multiple angles, precise triangulation. Together they form a detailed profile of the Su-35 systems, radar power, scan behavior, lock timing, missile activation signals, even the brief spike that appeared seconds before launch. All of it is now stored, and it matters. Because the next time a Su-35 shows up on radar anywhere in the world, these systems will recognize it instantly. Inside the CIC, the display now shows empty ocean. No threats, no warnings. The strike group has returned to normal operations. But the crew understands something important. This wasn't just a defended attack, it was also an intelligence opportunity. And moments like that are rare. High above, the E-2D Hawkeye continues its patrol, scanning hundreds of miles of airspace. No new contacts appear. The 2 fighters are gone, likely heading back toward Iranian airspace at high speed. For those pilots, the result is already clear. Their weapons didn't reach the target, their aircraft were intercepted, and their electronic signatures were recorded the entire time. Back on the carrier, analysts focus closely on the missile launch sequence. Infrared footage shows the exact moment the weapon dropped from the wing. Radar logs capture the guidance system activating. For a few seconds, the missile's onboard radar scanned the ocean ahead. Those signals were recorded too. Now they can be studied, modeled, and used to improve future defenses, making response times even faster next time. Out on the flight deck, the sound of jet engines fills the air. A pair of Super Hornets returns from patrol, descending smoothly and catching the arresting wires with precision. Within seconds, they taxi clear. Operations continue. The carrier never slowed, never changed course. For the crew, the entire encounter lasted less than 10 minutes. 2 missiles fired, 2 missiles stopped, 2 hostile aircraft forced to withdraw. But the real outcome is unfolding quietly inside the intelligence center. Every signal, every movement, every detail from those Su-35 fighters has been captured and archived. And that information will go far beyond this single strike group. It will feed into training systems, defensive software, and future planning. Which means the pilots who attempted the strike revealed something they never intended. They showed exactly how their aircraft operates. And in modern naval warfare, that kind of knowledge can be more valuable than any outcome in the sky. Out on the open ocean, the strike group continues forward. Radars turning, jets launching, ships holding formation, watching, waiting. Because the next encounter may come without warning, and when it does, the fleet will already be ready.